Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to work with automation using Make. I'm going to automate with Make, and I'm also going to use DeepSeek, L1. And also, we will also call upon the powerful Perplexity, the one who will actually give us ideas and news regarding our monitoring, competitive intelligence. I'll quickly show you the scenario, and then of course we'll go through it step by step. The scenario here involves calling on Perplexity so that they actually provide us with competitive intelligence information about our field. After that, all this information will be recorded in an Enochian database. They will also be sent by email so that we stay really up to date regarding our competitors and our topic. And also to share this with our team on Slack every day. This is competitive intelligence. We're going to do it twice a day, and we're going to schedule it here. In fact, with MIC, once we have the competitive intelligence, we're also going to work on our scenario. This scenario will call on DeepSeek. DeepSeek here, it will simply write us, for example, a blog post. It might simply write us an action plan, a marketing strategy. And all of this thanks to the information we've gathered in our database, the information from our competitive intelligence. Deep will step in and then we'll update our database with our strategy. If we want to create an article, so we're going to send it here to our website automatically. And if we simply want to send the strategy or the information we've created with Deep, we can also share them and share the action plan with our team on Slack. So in this training, I'm going to go step by step, little by little, to build this scenario, to explain to you the different steps and how we can have a mechanism that can work for us, that can do the competitive intelligence, either in relation to our field or in relation to our competitors. So, a very important note, if you're a beginner with Make, if it's your first time working with Make, and you don't have the basic concepts for creating the module, you'll find here, up there, a training on YouTube. What I've created is a training that allows you to follow step by step the creation and the automation of scenarios with Make. It's a training for beginners. I first invite you to watch this training so you can follow along with me. The advanced training, that one, the one that will simply use the modules I've already shown. How do we create these modules? So, to start, you'll simply find this scenario. The download link for this scenario in the description of this video. So here, you'll see that I have the option to simply import. So you'll see here, export, import, you have the option to import a blueprint. It's simply this scenario. I'm going to export it. You can simply download it and import it here to have the whole scenario. That way it was created by me. Of course, your task is to connect the modules because that's completely normal. It needs to be connected to your Gmail. It's going to be connected with your Notion. So there you go. After that, you just need to make the connections. The same thing, I'm going to do that for this scenario and for the second scenario, because these are two scenarios that work together in collaboration. So you'll also be able to import this scenario. That's the first thing to do. So you import the scenarios. Once the scenarios are imported, you can follow the information at your own pace, or you have the choice to create your scenario from A to Z, from scratch. If you have basic knowledge, that will be great. If you try to do it yourself, you'll learn a lot if you create it yourself. So the first module is simply Perplexity. It's an artificial intelligence model. This one will allow me to launch searches, especially if I have the option to activate the search here, as you can see on the internet. This allows you to collect data and information, especially from the internet. And this intelligence is very well known. It's very advanced when it comes to searching the internet. And above all, it can be up to date by checking the latest references on the internet. That's why here in my Make, I'm just going to call on Perplexity. But be careful to call on Perplexity. You simply have the option to click add a new module. So you'll find Perplexity. And now I'm going to choose create chat compilation with Perplexity. But of course, I would first need to connect Perplexity here, and to set the condition, I just need to add my API here for Perplexity. So that complete Perplexity can easily connect with the Make site. And to do that, it's very simple. So we're going to delete this, and I'm going back to Perplexity. You'll see here, if I show my module, you'll notice that I have the settings here. I click on the settings and you'll see that there's something here, a module called Ampere. And so if I go to the close section, I can simply do creating my support was very easy. So you're going to scroll down just here at the bottom and you'll see this. It's my key. Of course, it's just a key that was created for informational purposes for this training. There's no point in copying it because I'm going to delete it. And you will simply click here to generate a new key. As you can see here, there's the possibility to generate multiple keys for the system to work. Once you generate your key, you'll see that you have the option to click there and connect your Perplexity with your Make site. So once I've created my API on Perplexity, all that's left to do is to choose the model here. So here, in terms of the model, I've chosen to work with the Llama model. So that's a bit of the most well-known model. I chose the small one so that it's faster, but you have the option to choose the large model if you're interested. Okay, once I've selected the model, as you can see, I just need to add my prompt and my request so that the system will simply perform a search on the internet. So here in my prompt, I simply asked it to give me 5 news articles related to my field, which is artificial intelligence and connected to the models. So of course you can ask it whatever you want. And I specified that I wanted to give me news about ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Queen. And I want the result, be careful, to be in HTML format. I'm going to explain that to you. Why? Because then, thanks to HTML, I can distribute the information across my database. That's my method, it's a thing. There are a lot of other methods to do it, but for me, I use this one. It's the simplest. And afterwards, I tell it that I don't want it to go through that 2000 TLAS characters. And there, I tell it, listen, I want the result to be in the format of a table. And in each line of this table, you will put the title and the summary of the news that you're going to suggest to me. After that, I tell it, of course, to replace the title and the summary with the information. Here, the role is user. And there, the maximum number of tokens I say should not be exceeded, 2000 teach tokens. The temperature, I can go up to 1999. That's the highest accuracy. But 1 is already very, very good. I think that 1 is the ideal temperature to launch your request. Then I click on save, of course, to save that information. So what I have here is just a system, a module called Perplexity, which is capable of doing this. Every time I launch the rocket, what it will do is its mission. It will search the internet for the 5 news articles today about artificial intelligence models, and it will simply return a table to me. And in that table, there will be each row with a title and a summary. This is the first module, the first step. And of course, that's the trigger, which means it's the activator. So this one will trigger twice a day. I can obviously set it up. As you can see here, I can tell it how many times it will run. I can tell it every day, and I can give it an exact date, an exact time for the launch. As I can do it twice, I can also do it just once. Then it all depends on the monitoring. So be careful. For me, the monitoring, competitive monitoring involves looking for that data. But in relation to you, you can have other competitive monitoring. The information that interests you really depends on your project and your company. So you have the freedom here, in fact, to choose here the request for Perplexity. So Perplexity will respond to the news, to the information that it will find on the internet. Regarding your field, you can even specify a competitor or even provide a link to a website. And it will do what's necessary to bring you the required information. So once Perplexity sends the information, you'll see that here I'm calling, actually, it's a text parser. Actually, it allows you to retrieve HTML content and present it in a table format. So let me explain a bit more. So here you'll see that when it makes the prompt, it will send me some HTML information here. And for me, this information here, I'm going to use this module. It's a module, of course, that we can find here. The one I used is get content from HTML. It specializes in retrieving information when it's sent in HTML format. Thanks to that, it will present them in a table format. And these data, you'll see that when I show you the classification and the parameters of these modules. So here, I'm putting the information at the nudge level. I'm not looking for it to process the data at all. I just want it to retrieve an HTML document. And that's why Perplexity will just send HTML. And this HTML, you'll see, will be a table. This table. And of course, I'm going to send it. You'll see here, I'm going to send it to another iteration module. because each line, it will be sent separately on its own to my database so that it can be saved. And what about that data? I set up a router here because I'm just going to take the data from Perplexity and send it by email. And I also want to send them to this glossary for that. And if I did it in height, is because there's a standalone job, and that's a standalone job, and that's a standalone job. And the module, actually the iterator, what is it? It's that it will receive a table here, and depending on the number of lines, it will simply send multiple times to my database. Exactly here, I will have 5 salad tables. You'll understand this better when I execute it later. Because when we execute it, we'll see how the information will flow. If I go even here, I can do so the simulation. Look, the information is being sent here, then here. And there it will be done several times. So every time it has a line, it will send it to the database. Then it will send it to Gmail. Then it will send it to Slack. So that's how the model is going to run. So when we execute it later, we'll track the data and you'll understand it better. So now I'm coming to my database, which is the Notion database. So Notion is very simple to connect. It's a simple connection that we make here. And of course, it will detect my database. So here, when I search, I put the name of the database here. For example, the database is called Newsbase. So when I click to search for it, you'll see that it will capture the database in my Notion. But of course, we need to connect Notion with Make. It's very important to work on the connection. It needs to be connected so it can detect all the databases. And there on Notion, you'll see it will record the information in the first column called the title. So it will put the first column that it will retrieve. And in the second column, it will simply put here the summary. Because for me, I simply asked here at Perplexity to give me the title and the summary for each line. So here, every time there's information, it will repeat the task 5 times. 5 times it will send the title to Notion and the summary will be saved in those 2 columns. If I open my database, so this is my database actually, I'm also going to share the database with you. So I'll share it so you can use it if you want, or even create a database. It's very easy to do it on Notion. So you just need to check out an account. In Notion, you'll see here, and with Notion, I can create several databases for free. And in this database, you'll see that here I simply have the first column with the title. In the second column, I've put the summary. In the third column, I've put the date because it's very important for me to include the date. Because the news depends on a date. And there I also made another column that we will use later. It's called the blog post. Because later, I'm just going to ask Deep to write me an article, and I'm also going to save the article here in my database, Notion. So this is the Notion database. You should know that this database, and it obviously needs to be connected. Look here with Make. Otherwise, it won't recognize it, so I need to connect it with Make. There you go. It's right there. Here's my connection with Mixi. It's well connected for everything, actually. Connection between Make is shown. It's very easy to do. I always recommend that you click here because you're going to make the connection with MIC. If it's your first time, definitely check out the documentation. The official Make documentation is really very nice. It shows you step by step. How do you do it? There are even photos. Sometimes you can even find videos. Here it shows you how to connect Make and Notion. So you only do this once. So here I remind you, Perplexity is going to fetch me 5 ideas. We're going to put them in HTML mode. And it will simply render them in a table. Then it will send the table here. And for each row, we will send the 5 lines to Notion 5 times. Notion, what it will do is save them here in its database. Each time, it will add a new row. And this row will be filled with these 3 pieces of information. Just for the date, there's a predefined function. So the date is this one. It's a function that I found here. It's called now. Now, it's going to put today's date along with the time, so it's automatic. So here I have my first iteration that allows me to save the information I've collected with Perplexity into the database. So regarding this news, I would like to receive an email every time there's new news. Every time my model is in research mode, I want to receive it. And so I've simply connected everything, Gmail. So to see the setup, I'm going to show you that right now. So here I have my Gmail. Of course, this is the first time you're going to make the connection. You just need to click here on ADD to add a new connection. Once the connection is made, you can call it every day. If it's the first time you're connecting with Gmail, of course, you need to do it. And you also have this part here, online help, which shows you how to make the connection, but it's very, very easy to do. Once your Gmail is connected, you'll be able to add your own email address here. So here, I'm adding my own email address to receive the emails. I'm simply putting a title. So there here, the title, I chose to put news and today's date to get to know each other. And there, the content, as you see, comes directly from Perplexity. So there, the content, I put directly the content of Perplexity so that I don't actually need to do any processing here. So all the content from Perplexity is sent here. And of course, I'm saving my database, this module, so that it works properly. And there you go. So once I've set it up, every time I receive it, I'm going to see it directly in my email. So the email is going to be sent and it won't be noisy, but I'm going to receive it directly. So it's also important to send the information on Slack, as you can see. So Slack is generally like WhatsApp, but rather it's a tool we use within the company because we can create what we call channels. And inside Slack, generally, employees can discuss projects and share information. So for me, I've simply connected my Slack here. I'm showing you. So I have a Slack that is connected. I choose actually the type of channel, so the channel where I'm going to share the information. I called it Make Training. This is for testing. And I actually put the information from Perplexity here. So just for Perplexity, I'm showing you where I can find the information. As soon as I click here, Make shows me the two modules. Where the information is, I'm looking for usage. And rather, choice, this one. Then I go to message, and in message, there's content. So here, actually, there's usually the information. So I choose this variable here. It's the one that will contain the information. Then, of course, I save my module. So here I have Slack. I'm actually showing you Slack here. I installed it on the computer. Well, it's just a Slack for testing. That's the one. So every time there's news, I'm just going to receive the table with the information. Well, I can format them. I can quote text, do a lot better. But here, actually, based on this, we'll see later when we test it, we'll automatically receive the new information on Slack. Once I run my model, so there, the model is done. What's left to do is to test it to see a bit how it works, how it runs, and how here in my database, you'll see that I'm just going to have new information. Remember that line. So normally we're going to have 5 different new lines. All right, let's start the system manually. So we're going to force it to connect, but generally we have to work with this system. You need to activate it so that we can program it to run by itself. But here we're going to do it manually, so I'm running it. You'll see it now. He is working with Perplexity to find the information. He sent it here, so on the first line, you see it was executed 5 times after. So he went to Gmail and then after that he went to Slack. It's really very quick. If I open Slack here, we'll see indeed I just saw the new information here and on Slack, so that just got sent. And here I just received an email. We'll see it. Here's the email that I just received a moment ago. There you go. So these are the details that I just got. If I'm going to go to my database, there you go. So that's the new line. So anyway, she sent it. I was 5-1. So that's 1, 2, etc. So here we're going to find 5 new lines that have just been added. This is the last one from earlier. There we go. It's already the time. It's not the same. And there you go. We just got the new information, the new data. Now, I'm interested in seeing the scenario, how the information was circulated, because tracking the information helps us to fix things, the bugs, the errors, and understanding the scenario. So here, Perplexity, when it was launched, of course. So now, the output, I'm interested in seeing the output here. You'll see that I'm going to go to this part to check out the result and message and content. So here you'll see that I have the information that has been sent. As you can see, the first line, so there is first column, this is the title, and this is the information that starts with Sam Altman. So there you go. This data, if I go back to my database, I should find them the same way. So if I scroll down here a little bit, that's the one, there you go. Sam Altman. So here, this is the first line, then the second, third, and fourth. Okay. Next, if I'm going to do the tracking, this data has been sent here. So look, he organized it in a table format. That's what I'm interested in. So this is about the lines, and each line, you're going to see that I'm going to find 2 columns. There you go. So here, I'm going to find the first column and the second column, column 1, 2. Okay. So this data is going to be sent here first. So rather, we're going to do, there you go, they're going to be sent here. This one will iterate, so it will simply receive just the table as input. As you can see here, this is the input and the output. There you go. It will execute 5 times. In fact, the rocket each time it will have to send line by line. So that's why Make here, you'll see that it performed 5 operations. Each operation simply involves writing to the database, so it enters and fills the database. So this is the input, so it receives the data. I can see the data, there you go. The data, title, and summary. The output that's here will simply, so if we follow in the property, there you go, the title and the blog, as long as I'm going to. There you go. He wrote the information here, actually the title and the summary. A palace, not the blog, the USM, and there you go. This is the summary that has just been added, so it was done 5 times afterwards in Gmail. The same thing, so he did the output here, so he received the information. Then he did that. In the output, he sent the email. The same thing on Slack, he received the input data. And afterwards, he simply sent that. And so he did the output, he sent the message. So my scenario is working correctly. First step, I asked Perplexity to search for the data, the information regarding competitive monitoring, and I saved it in a database and sent myself an email. The second step is simply about what I want. There you go. Writing a blog post, I also want to call Deep to have him write the blog for me, and I can ask him to do that. Writing an action plan, a proposal, or a counterattack to a move made by the competitor afterwards, it all depends on your context. Once that's done, I want it to be sent by email or via Slack or directly on my website. That's what we're going to see right now. All right, now I'm in the second scenario. We're going to see it and understand it in detail. Here, I'm just going to do what we call watch database. He's the one who will check if a new line has been added to my database. Of course, I can also ask him to check 5 lines, because I know that if I send 5 lines, he can retrieve all 5 lines. But just to test, I'll show you. I set just the limit here, a single line. Of course, I'm asking him to search. Still in the same database. So Notion needs to retrieve the data. Here, I'm going to call on the DeepSeek model. And of course, here, I'm going to call on my Croc connection. We're going to see it in detail and how to create the free API for DeepSeek. And especially here, I'm going to work with the R1. So, of course, it's the system that does the thinking. So here, it processes the information and then sends the response. We're going to look at my request in detail afterwards. Here, I noticed that DeepSeek, when it sends back the information, it mainly sends the thinking part first. That means it shows you the reasoning and then gives you the answer. For me, the reasoning doesn't really interest me. That's why I created this module that will replace the thinking part, so that it removes it. I replaced it just with a space or a line break, because I won't need it afterwards. The thinking interests me. The result, I need to go there. I'm going to save it. In my database, I'm going to create a blog post on my website about this news, and I'm going to send that to Slack to let the team know that there's a new article has just been published. Obviously, the idea here depends on your context. That means for you, I created an article, but for you, you can create a marketing strategy, a business plan, a newsletter. You have the right to react based on competitive monitoring, whatever interests you. Once that's done, you're obviously going to take your action, which for me is WordPress and Slack. We're going to go step by step through the creation of print and the sending of that information. So now I need to make a reminder to some psyches. There are several ways to do it with psyches, but the simplest one, especially here, I'm actually using a free system, which is the Gawk website. So here there is obviously a whole, let's say, information regarding grog, but I'm going to show you, it's very easy to do. You can simply type grog on grog and you'll go to that site, you'll enter because of grog. In fact, it will give you a free API that will help you, in fact, by calling on several models. It's not just DeepSeek. There are ChatGPT, there are Queen, there are tons of others, and it's very simple. You're just going to click here on Dev Console, and you need to create a free account. And on the console, as you can see here, so I can just go to the API key section where I can create my own key for myself. Well, I have several. Of course, you're going to click on Create API Key. Once that's done, it's all good. You can come back here in your system and click to add that module. It's really very simple to do. Once that's done, you're just going to choose the model. So there are several models. And if I type DeepSeek here. You'll see that it offers me 2 systems of DeepSeek, 2 models. I obviously choose that one. So there, you'll see there are some that are a bit less. That one also contains a queen distribution, but for me, it's this one that interests me the most, the best one, the DeepSeek R1. It's a distribution Llama 70 billion parameters. That's the one I'm interested in. Next, I'm going to set it to user mode. And there, that's the content. So let me explain the content, what it's about. So here I asked it to write for me a blog post that includes the title, the summary. So I gave it the information that was here in my database. And I told it that you can do it with formatting using H1, H2, and that it should be optimized for SEO. So it's just a simple print. I'm asking it to return something very short, around 500 tokens, but you can do more, you can do better. Ask it to come up with ideas of all kinds for your concept. For me, I'm interested in creating blog posts, but there are so many ideas. I can ask him to give me ideas for making videos or scripts. To make videos, I can ask it to give me news about competitors, about a market. I can ask it what you think, give me a detailed analysis, give me recommendations, how can I do it? Regarding my situation, to replicate, if there are competitors who have made innovations, it all depends on your context. And now I click on save and you'll see that my system is just ready. So here, I actually noticed on DeepSeek, you'll see when it gives me the information, you'll see, I'll show you here. There's always, in fact, the thinking key part displayed. So that's completely normal. He's actually showing me how he's thinking before giving me the result. Because down here, this is where, there you go. When the tag closes, I'll show you, there you go, here. When the tag closes, this is actually where the article is going to be processed. So for me, I'm not really interested in leaving that information there. I want him to develop it. I just want him to give me the result, not the thinking. So to make it short, I was able to simply do this here. Call for what are called regular expressions. This is a module that you will find here, which is called home place. So there suddenly it will actually simply replace the think part with simply a BR. Or it's a line break, but I can do a space, a point, whatever I want here, or even a small one to simply put something empty. So you're going to tell me how I wrote that. That's a regular expression. You have all the documentation. I'll show you the documentation for the regular expression. It's very, very advanced. It will simply search in the text and search for all the content that exists between the 2 tags. So if you don't have any knowledge, I recommend reaching out to ChatGPT. If you want, you can ask it here to give you a regular expression that returns all the information between those 2 tags in a text, that returns to you all the information that is between those 2 tags in a text. And so hop, it's going to give you that. You'll just copy it and then come back here to your template and you will paste it. So that's very easy to do. Before, creating and writing regular expressions wasn't really easy for beginners. Because there is mathematics, it must have advanced knowledge in computer science to know how to generate, work, and manage characters. Everything that is a string, everything that is text. But here, it's very easy to do. You just need to write the regular expression. Now, I'm going to give him the output of the psychics. And what did he do? He cleaned up the content. And now I can update my content. In the section, article, blog, this is the new column I created, and simply here, I called on WordPress. And you'll see that here in WordPress, I'm going to simply create an article. So I clicked on ADD to establish a connection between WordPress and my site. And there, I tell him, listen, you're going to add this content, of course, which is generated here to a page that has an article type. So it's an article on a page, and I tell him, be careful. I want you to save it as a draft, which means in draft mode. I don't want you to publish it directly because I want to see it, and that's why I'm here. I'm using Slack to send me an alert to let me know that there's an article ready. So all that's left to do is to run it to see a little bit how it works. So here we go. I'm going to ask him to start working. So he found a new article. So we're going to see the new article. Where is it? So here in the value. Okay, this is the title. So he's going to work on new. DeepSeek. Research Future HGBT. Okay, so this is the new article. And this is the summary actually in the text. Okay, here's the summary. It's right here, but this is the summary and this is my article. Very good. Now he's calling on DeepSeek, so let's take a look at DeepSeek. He received as input my query, so this is my query, and there it replaced the information like the title and the summary, and there we will see the output. So what did it give as a result? So there you go. Of course, there is the thing part, and there somewhere is the article part. Of course, I was counting the number of characters in this article, and I can comment on it here. You have the freedom to work on it more. The number of tokens, okay. I set it to 500, but you can go further, set it here to 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, that's the max for the version, but which is free. We can't exceed 2,000 here to avoid getting an error message after that. So what is he going to do? He's simply going to apply this regular expression to give me a clean and pure result. Who is that? You saw here the 1000 BR. The symbol I used is a line break, but then we can replace it with something else. He saved that in the make in our channels, so we can check if it's good in our channels or not. So now we're going to take a look at our channels actually. Yes, this article is here, of course, because it can't go to all those articles that are here because this one is on the list. It has just been added. Okay, so it's going to start with this one. You put this article here, that's the answer. So we're going to check a next level block. We will check if it is the right one, our article or not. So just to check that as well. Here. Exactly. It's the right article, okay? So he created an article on WordPress. So now I'm going to go to my website. We're going to try to access my site. Here we go. So here's the site. We might refresh the page. And there you have it. That's the article. That's very good. We can make one. There you go. It's confusing, of course. That's it. It's important here, right there, to test. So here it is. This is the article that has just been added. And of course, I would like to check on Slack. So if he gave me something on Slack, we'll see it together. Indeed, he tells me, here it is. There's a new article that has been added. I can throw in the link. I can provide a lot of information or an overview of that article. So there you go. I have my scenario up and running. It can operate without any issues, and I'm able to complete my task. So I have both scenarios working very, very well. So what I can offer you, if you agree or if you like, is to do a live session on YouTube where I show you how to create the scenario from A to Z. That means I would take a blank page and start creating the modules one by one in a live session and answer your questions in real time. If you want us to do this in our YouTube community, I'd be more than happy to do it. If I find that there are a lot of people asking for it, then I'll schedule a live make for my YouTube community. Free, of course, we're going to do it on YouTube. We're also going to try to find a timing that works for everyone. I'm going to create a little form where you'll submit the time and date that interests you. And then we will try to see the maximum participation of people. So if you're interested, please in the comments, just type live. So I'm going to try to get in touch with each element in private to send you a form to detect and receive suggestions for dates and times to schedule a live session where I show you step by step, for beginners of course, how I create scenarios in Make. Maybe we'll redo that one, or find another more fun idea where you'll get familiar with creating scenarios with Make. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching this video. So if you have any questions, feel free to write to me in the comments. I'm doing my best to answer all your questions. And if you like the video and want to see the upcoming updates, don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much and see you soon.